Diane, 11:30 a.m., April 6th. Entering the podcast Bigfoot Collectors Club. Know the. It's 12 miles northeast of the Pacific Ocean, 131 miles northwest of the border, but you can find it on your favorite podcast app. I've never seen so many Star Wars figures in my life. Usually, this program features stories of high strangeness, cryptids, flying saucers, highlighted by the waning appearances of celebrity guests. But this week, they'll be discussing the pilot episode of Twin Peaks, which originally aired on April 8th, 1990. 32 years ago this week, as a matter of fact. Makes for some damn fine podcasting. Okay, looks like I'll be meeting up with Bryce O. Johnson. He'll be waiting for me at the clubhouse. He's never watched the series until now. Hopefully, after we're finished with this episode, he can give me a look at that Sasquatch that crawled off the railroad tracks on the mountain. Probably check out some other podcasts while I'm here. Just need some clean fun and a reasonably priced monthly Patreon pledge. That's what I need. Clean fun, reasonably priced monthly Patreon pledge. Oh, Diane, I almost forgot. Have to find out what kind of super producers they have around here. They're really something. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
And our super producer,
Riley Bray.
We are shaking things up this week and discussing the pilot of Twin Peaks. It's all happening. It's all part of our attempt to get Bryce to peek at Twin Peaks and watch the entire series over the course of 2022. This, of course, entails the pilot, which we watched. So check that off the list. Season 1, which is only 6 episodes long, 7 if you count the pilot. Season 2, which is like 22 episodes. Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, and Twin Peaks, The Return, the live series, limited series event that originally shared on Showtime. Thus, this makes BCC episode 194 our first Bookhouse Boys episode. That's a reference that will make itself clear around episode 4.
Okay.
Now, all right.
Great.
Now, why are we doing this? Well, basically because Twin Peaks is a giant...
We're out of content.
No, we've run out of monsters. This has been something you guys have been asking us to do for a while. It's something that I've been bugging Bryce to do. Twin Peaks is a big avant-garde TV show that features mystery, ultra-terrestrials, demons, dreams, owls, UFOs, haunted woods, shapeshifters, and the greatest man in black of all time, Kyle MacLachlan. I mean, he technically is an MIB. He is wearing a black suit, playing Agent Dale Cooper.
Okay.
It's basically a high strangeness 1950s soap opera set in the 90s through the lens of David Lynch.
Yep. I mean, it's perfect for everything we talk about. It was hard not to, as I was watching the pilot, I started Googling, and it's hard not to get into spoiler territory. I won't. But I was digging the occult references for sure.
Yeah, and they get more they start coming in soon in season 1, and then season 2, really, which is only 8 episodes in, is off and running. There's a scene. This is not really spoiling anything, but there's a scene in the opening of season 2 that is basically the Woody Derenberger
weird.
What's his name?
Derenberger, Woody Derenberger from the Mothman.
Yes,
case,
but Injured Cold. There's basically an Injured Cold character shows up in season 2. Dude. And that's so why weird. I keep pushing you to this, Bryce, because it is it's really it's John Keel. It's a John Keel soap opera.
You know what's so funny? I mean, I just started I had an inkling to sort of watch Hellier again, and which is that great TV show by Planet Weird, Greg and Dana Newkirk, and I don't know, I was just kind of drawn to it, and then immediately I knew why. I wanted to research. One of the guys in it is a character that can be found in an old book by Alan Greenfield called Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts. But
yes,
and there's this appendix where, you know, this character is talking about meeting Indrid Cold. So I was just like reading all this stuff, and it's so funny to like, of course, Twin Peaks, you're going to come up with synchronicities abound, and they're already starting again. It's just so weird.
I love it. And didn't you say that when you now, to be fair, you have watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes of the series a couple of years back.
That's right. I started Twin Peaks, and I think I got to like episode 4 or 5. And not that I just stopped due to disinterest. I think I just got caught up in my own world, and I didn't get back to it. But, I'm dedicated.
It's a shame because that is, you got right to the edge of when the high strangeness really starts to kick in.
Right. I wasn't pushed over the precipice, huh?
No, but like one episode later, and you would have been like, holy shit, this is what Michael's been talking about.
Got it. Well, I can feel it bubbling. So I'm excited that we're getting into this territory now.
Now, Riley, you've seen the original series, but not the return, correct?
No, I've seen it all.
Okay, you've seen all of it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
I've watched the original series a couple times.
Got it. Okay, so you and I both know where everything leads. Bryce is a newbie. So if you're a newbie or you're a seasoned peaker, I don't know if that's what they call themselves, then that's what we'll call them. Then the show applies to you. Now, obviously, Riley and I are not going to get into any spoilers past the episodes that we're covering. So Twin Peaks pilot, we got spoilers going on for that, but we might tease some stuff in the future like I just did for season 2, but we won't get into any real spoilers because, of course, there is already from the get-go a central mystery to this series, which is who killed Laura Palmer. And I successfully dodged that spoiler for 40 years or 30 years, however long it was. So I'm glad I held off. Good. Do you know who the killer is, Bryce?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. All right, because I'm going to ask you at the very end of the episode who you think did it based on the pilot, okay?
Oh, shit, okay.
Start thinking about that.
Oh, my God.
The other thing about this, I just want to say, without Twin Peaks, I think TV obviously wouldn't be what it is today. We certainly wouldn't have the X-Files. We wouldn't have gotten Lost. We definitely wouldn't have gotten True Blood. By the way, Greg Feinberg, one of the producers on True Blood, was a producer on Twin Peaks, and just the stuff with the sheriff station alone, the characters and all of that, and a murder mystery being at the center of season 1. There's a lot of Twin Peaks and True Blood. It's a true love letter to the strange, hinting at and giving a revealing glimpse to the true nature of reality, while it never fully explains like what's really going on. But over the course of the series, if you play along, if you watch carefully, I think the answers are all there. So that's it. That's sort of our preface to the pilot. Don't take my word for it, however. We have one more Club Scout, Alan, who wrote in with why Bryce should peek at Twin Peaks. Riley, why don't you read what Alan had to say about the show?
All right. Also in list form. Number
yes,
one.
Lots of lists, but we appreciate it.
Good. We got top 10s.
Yeah, keeps it easy.
Yeah. Number 1, creepy as hell. True. Number 2, funny as hell. Number 3, alternately creepy as hell and funny as hell in the same episode.
Okay, good.
Number 4, great mood and setting.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 5, great early performances by now familiar actors. Number 6, great performances by veteran actors.
Indeed.
Number 7, plot that keeps you guessing. Very true. Number 8, really intriguing mythology that leaves room for interpretation and discussion. Number 9, you can say shows are like Twin Peaks, but you can't say Twin Peaks is like other shows.
That's good, yeah.
I think that's the best point Alan makes in this list.
Yeah, that totally. It's like when people say something's like Dylan-esque. You know, it's like everybody tries to write songs like Bob Dylan, but I guess Bob Dylan just tried to write songs like Woody Guthrie. But anyways, that's a digression. Number 10.
Don't bring your rock and roll history into this, Riley. This is television history.
More folk history. But yeah. Number 10. Characters you won't forget.
Great list. Thank you, Alan. Very good. But of course, I'm already here, so I need no more convincing. I've been hooked. There's a hook in my mouth. So
Great. Love it. Just like Martell trying to fish at the top of the episode of the pilot.
Look at that tie-in.
Finds instead of finding a body, Laura Palmer's body on the beach, he finds Bryce watching the first episode of the pilot that his character is in. All right, we're gonna get into it. Before we do, quick club housekeeping. Guys, the moment has finally arrived. As you're listening to this, if you've been on Instagram, you have discovered that we have revealed not one, not two, but 3 new t-shirts added to our merch collection. It's the BCC Records collection. It's hitting the merch store right now. It's designed by James Mulholland. These 3 shirts celebrate the 3 BCC house bands, Wolf Brother, BJ and the Shadowbats, and of course, Club Bryce. You got to check out these designs. They're all designed to look like the logos of the bands themselves. I think James knocked it out of the park.
He certainly did. Yes.
I'm very excited for you guys to get your hands on these. Click the link in the episode description of today's show or the link in our bio on Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club and on Twitter at Bigfoot Pod to pick those up. You can also go to wearecampfire.media, smash the shop button, and you'll see the BCC merch there. So go check those shirts out. We're very excited by them. Wolf Brother might be the best shirt we've done, in my humble opinion, although the BJ and the Shadowbats is also awesome. And of course, you can't beat Club Bryce.
And of course, I have a personal affinity for Club Bryce. I'm like, I need that coffee cup. That's me.
You have 2 bands named after you in this podcast. BJ and the Shadowbats and Club Bryce. But it's great because it's like Club Bryce is like 2001 pop, circa pop, boy band vibe to it. And then BJ and the Shadowbats is sort of like late 70s, early 80s Nashville vibes. And then Wolf Brothers just straight up 80s hair band. So
fucking great. Got it covered.
I'm excited. Support the show by joining our Patreon, BCC, The Other Side, and receive 3 bonus episodes every month. You can also upgrade to the extraterrestrial tier, which grants you access to additional weekly cosmic tracks pulled from the archives by Riley. And finally, yes, Riley?
No, I just said that's right.
That's right. Finally, you can be a 5-star Club Scout when you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, like this one Bryce will read.
Sedge_18 writes, no brainer, easiest 5-star review ever. Keep up the good work, guys. Check out the 1969 Berkshire UFO mass sighting / abductions. It's the OG Phoenix Lights. 5 stars. Nice. Yes. Thank you.
You know what? I love this idea of slipping in a recommendation for us in the 5-star reviews. If there's something you want us, that's one way we'll see it for sure. So get in there. Yeah, I see Bryce on the Google Doc right now highlighting.
I'm highlighting it. I'm like, I need content. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure. Yeah, go on. Have you heard about this?
That might already be on my possible episodes list. I'm going to look right now.
Is this the one that they covered on the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix in the first season? Did they do this one? Because I know whichever story that was. I think it was on the it was like New England, and we hadn't covered it yet. Still haven't.
I feel like I've researched this a little bit before. Okay, so I'm on my possible episodes list right here, and let's see, Black Knight Satellite. No. UFO over Temple Mount. No, not that.
You got to do that one.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not on here.
All right.
That's so strange. All right.
Add it to the list. Right. Thanks, Sedge_18. Guys, give us a 5-star review.
Berkshire UFO mass. Okay.
Boom. Let's do it. I guess it is the not Massachusetts, like mass sighting. You have got it. Mass sighting. Okay. I see what my brain did there. Okay. All right. I thought it would be fun to kick off this Twin Peaks episode by reading from an article about some of the strange and mysterious places in the Pacific Northwest. Kind of set the mood a little bit. All right, you ready? Cue that music, Riley, because we have some light. BCC News! Now, I say it's light because this is really more of a sort of featured article, last updated in January of this year from a website called That Oregon Life. So I pulled a couple examples from their article, 12 Haunted Trails in the Pacific Northwest, where horror lurk. If you want to read the whole list, you can check it out in the links in the episode show notes. But here are a couple that I thought were cool and wondering if you guys had ever heard of. And this is sort of geared towards, like, if you want to be a hiker that maybe doesn't make it through the woods, check out these places. This is like a real...
If you're looking to go on a solo journey and not come back, I recommend these hiking trails.
Yes, it's very 411, I have to say. The first one is Mahler Butte in Mahler County, Oregon. And it says, Mahler Butte is a dead volcano said to also be a former meeting spot for a powerful coven of witches. Locals here are convinced the witches will return and have left their shadows behind to protect the land. Does that ring any bells, Bryce?
Yeah, fucking A.
Folks have also reported seeing menacing apparitions that resemble small dogs in the area. One woman was chased off the grounds by a shadowy creature. She said, "What I saw is something I never wish to see again in my life. My boyfriend and I were in the car just talking, and all of a sudden you could hear a bone creaking sound and see a shadow that seemed to just move closer and closer. It looked like it had skinny legs, a big head, and was on all fours. But it didn't seem to want to attack. It was just moving closer and standing there, but it had no eyes." Hikers and visitors have even claimed to have been chased away by menacing shadows that screech.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Screeching Shadows.
Yeah, Screeching Shadows. That's that is obviously an album. That's like the box set collection of BJ and the Shadow Bats. That's like the ultimate box concert DVD box set. The name Malheur even translates directly in French as evil hour. Yikes.
Evil hour, yeah.
Yeah, the Malheur. Any chance you guys would want to maybe take a remote trip up to Screeching Shadows, Evil Witches hiking trail?
Down 100%.
I'd go with you boys, yeah, for sure. I think it's long overdue that we start seeing some shit.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. Here's another one. North Creek Trail from Tryon Creek State Park in Oregon. Tryon Creek State Natural Area, Portland's only state park within a city, is located in the middle of the trail of Tryon Creek. A nearly 5-mile tributary of the Willamette River. The fresh-cut lumber, very Twin Peaks, may seem normal, especially for Oregon. However, the last time the area was majorly logged was in the late 1800s. But logging can't be done without manpower or ghost power. People have been reporting hearing the sound of horses whinnying and disembodied voices of men talking, specifically on the North Creek trailhead. It's believed to be haunted by the ghosts of men who worked as loggers in the area at the turn of the century. If you dare, take this hike and listen closely. You might just hear the ghosts of loggers past.
Okay.
I like the idea also of like phantom smells of freshly cut wood, but there's no wood being cut. Sounds very time portally, maybe. Maybe the veil between timelines is very thin. You know what I mean?
It's like a union of ghost loggers.
Mm-hmm. Probably weren't unionized back then.
Sign up, guys. We got to haunt this place in 100 years. What do you say?
I'm on my 15-year break. I'll be back.
All right. The Hoh River Trail in Olympic National Forest, Washington. We're getting real close to Twin Peaks here. In the land of Sasquatch sightings and Twilight vampire fame, there may also be a cult of satanic worshipers lurking in this pristine Washington rainforest. As recently as the 1970s, there have been reports of goat-looking men wearing dark robes with hooves for feet. That's just a straight-up devil.
Yeah, I don't need that shit in my life.
Some even believe Lucifer's minions here on Earth are...
Goat man?
Yeah. What's wrong with little goat man?
Come on.
It might be like Mr. Tumnus. Maybe he's just going to offer you some Turkish delight. But Lucifer's minions here on Earth are somewhere on the Hoh. Keep your eyes peeled for 6-foot 8-inch shaggy creatures and sparkly vampires with red eyes, of course. Yes, ha ha ha.
You guys, I'm 6'8" and shaggy.
Pretty shaggy, not as shaggy as you used to be, but pretty Pretty shaggy. You're getting shaggy. You're getting the shaggy back.
I'm shagging up.
Yeah.
I'm shagging up these days.
You're bringing shaggy back.
I'm getting my shaggy
You got
back.
sparkly vampire vibes. I feel that.
We have just
one of these.
a couple more. Camp Moyer, Mount Rainier National Park, Washington. All right, so we're getting to the location of like the original flying saucer sighting. It seems almost yearly there is a death here attributed to a fall by a climber, and some of these bodies have never been recovered. The views here are incredible, and the trek to Camp Muir is exhilarating, but it's a hike not to be taken lightly. The weather can change unexpectedly, and it's definitely considered more of a dangerous hike. Back in 1970, pioneers Hazard Stevens and Philemon Van Trump were determined to climb the mountain. Their guides refused to take them no further than the timberline, thinking they were crazy to even attempt it. According to the book Haunted Hikes, Spine-Tingling Tales and Trails from North America's National Parks, the mountain's personality, according to their mythology, was that of a disgruntled, scorned wife who sucked people into her cave-like stomach and devoured them.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a personality of a mountain you want to run into.
No. Yeah. And I picked that one because, as we'll see in Twin Peaks, the woods definitely seem to have a conscious personality in this series. Right. And this really kind of reminded me of the show. Finally, like this one, It comes with a Bigfoot photograph that we'll post. Silver Star Mountain in South Cascades, Washington. The road up Silver Star Mountain isn't easy, and accessing the scenic views is tough. Several hikers have reported brief sightings of a large creature in the woods. Could it be Sasquatch? There are said to have been constant sightings here. In November of 2005, a hiker even got a picture of Sasquatch on the Silver Star. Bryce, do you want to read that? I didn't highlight it for you, but check that quote. Check this quote out by Randy Chase.
Here we go. And I'm zooming in on these pictures. I really love them. Quote, on November 17th, 2005, I was looking to the south from the summit of Silver Star Mountain. On the ridge across from me, I saw something I thought looked a little strange. So I got out my camera and took some pictures. Right after I took the first shot, it moved or stood up, and I took another picture. It then moved toward the south, away from me. I had to readjust because the wind was so strong and it was difficult to move because the snow was waist deep. I got closer to a rock to steady myself and took another picture. By then, it was moving down the hill. I don't think it was another backpacker or snowshoer. Signed, Randy Chase. And yes, I'm looking at these three photos, and I mean,
describe the photos for us, Bryce.
Well, talk about the silhouette of a Bigfoot. I mean, you could see what he's talking about as it stands up. The first, you just see shoulders and head. And then the second picture, it gets taller. And that third one, I mean, you could start to see the waistline and the legs.
And the arms dangling down.
The arms dangling what looks like below the knees. And it sort of has that, what do you call it? Oh my God!
The sagittal crest.
Sagittal crest.
Can you believe that I pulled that out? That is the term I learned from Bryce Johnson.
Yeah, but this looks like a Bigfoot silhouette, man. A pretty incredible picture.
Yeah, a series of pictures. Actually, they're great.
Yes, series of pictures.
I'll throw those up on the Instagram so our listeners can check that out. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick little break now that the mood's set. We're going to maybe hear a commercial, and then we'll come back, and we're going to be speaking Twin Peaks. All right, Diane, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Bigfoot Collectors Club is going to talk the pilot of Twin Peaks. All right, Club Scouts, as a reminder, we watched the pilot, Northwest Passage, and it depends on where you're watching this, but it's not to be confused with Season 1, Episode 1, which is technically the second episode. When I tried to watch Twin Peaks for the first time a number of years ago, the pilot itself, because it was caught up in rights issues, I don't know if you guys knew about this, was not available on the original DVD set. So,
no.
Yeah, so like I ordered it old school through the mail and Netflix, and I got it, and I was like, wait, I missed the whole first episode of this series. I think there was like a music issue, or, because there's some live music in there. I don't know what happened, but you couldn't for the longest time get the pilot on DVD. So that's why I actually waited so long to watch the series, because I kind of like kicked the can down the road till all of it was available. So we're watching the Northwest Passage, the pilot, which, by the way, Northwest Passage was the original title for Twin Peaks, and it was going to take place in South Dakota, but then they changed it to after they found out there was a real town called Northwest Passage. They changed it into Twin Peaks.
I'm glad they did. I like the title Twin Peaks. I think it's
stronger.
And it looks great in that neon square rectangular font that I love so much in the opening. And we'll talk about the opening credits here in a minute, but
yeah, that's what vibe. Yep.
Yeah, I just don't think it would have the same impact if it was called Northwest Passage, and it gives the town a like physical monument, you know what I mean? A natural land monument, which I like too. And it also made it possible to open a horny Midwestern chain for dirtbags to go eat, I guess, Scottish food. What does the Twin Peaks chain serve where everyone's in kilts?
Are you serious? Is that true?
Yeah, there's like a Hooters called Twin Peaks where the servers wear like short kilts.
Are the servers like mostly are like guy servers in
no,
kilts?
They're women. They're women.
Women in kilts, right?
It's Hooters ripoff, but it's called Twin Peaks. Get it?
Wow. Okay. Great. Okay.
We're not discussing that Twin Peaks on this show.
I mean, my mind is reeling. Yeah. I mean, can
Google
we
it. Google Twin Peaks restaurant. Find out.
I'm doing.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, it also does have like a Twin Peaks vibe about it. I think it's sort of log cabiny. I don't know how they've gotten away with that.
Twin Peaks restaurant near me? No, I'll just go images, please. Oh yeah, right. Oh, you're right. Look at that. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, cool.
He's just going to leave that up on that window open for the rest of the episode.
Research.
Not getting Bryce's attention for the next 30 minutes. I don't know why I did that.
I remember, so on our Instagram feed on Bigfoot Collectors Club early on, when you sort of go through the search bar and it pulls up, the algorithm pulls up random images. I remember like Michael was like, who's been looking at girls in bikinis and guys with muscles on this Instagram? I was kind of like, guilty.
Actually, the first thing you said wasn't me.
Oh, right. Well, hard to deny that.
You didn't admit it till years later. Yeah, it was like Instagram models, ripped dudes in like creatine. Like that's what was popular.
I was going through a phase in my life.
I just wanted to note that future discussions of the series will likely take place on the other side. So this is probably going to be the only main feed or free feed episode fully devoted to Twin Peaks, but of course it'll come up again as we talk about it. And like I said, we're going to shy away from future spoilers as Bryce hasn't seen the full series yet, but anything from the current episode is on the table. So if you haven't watched the pilot, this is your official spoiler warning. You can get it on Amazon Prime if you have a subscription. Apple TV Plus, you can rent it. It's out there. Go find it. Go watch it. If you want to watch it now and come back and listen to the rest of this. Okay. Great. Guys, I went to some of the ancillary material of the show. I picked up a book that was on my shelf, gifted to me from my buddy Neil for my birthday a couple years back. This is Welcome to Twin Peaks. This is sort of a town guide written, I believe, by Mark Frost and was published in 1991. And it's made to look like one of those like skinny map town guides you pull out at, like a motel when you're on a road trip.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, and it's got all this backstory to the town of Twin Peaks. So I pulled a couple peak facts that I thought might be fun for some of the backstory, and some facts about the city of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this guy Mark Frost too.
Yes,
who co-wrote Twin Peaks with David Lynch. Is doing a little research. I found out he's sort of the a lot of the occult driver of some of these plots and themes.
I think so too. That's why I recommend people watch all the way through season 2, even though like David Lynch leaves for most of season 2 and then comes back at the end, because a lot of the occult stuff really picks up in that second half of season 2. And I think I think it is. I think like Mark Frost, they talk about Mount Rainier and Kenneth Arnold in The Secret History of Twin Peaks, which canonically doesn't take place until in between the series. But it's clear that he knows all of this stuff. Like, he's a guy that we should try to get on the podcast.
Well, from what I understand, he's a theosophist and interested in all those sort of occult writings of like Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky, and so he's into all this shit big time. So
and UFOs and stuff.
Sense. Yeah, for sure.
So here we go. Here's some peak facts that I pulled from the book Welcome to Twin Peaks. Okay, so the town of Twin Peaks, Washington, is located 5 miles south of the Canadian border and 12 miles west of the state line. Despite what it says on the town sign in the opening credits, the population of Twin Peaks, according to the 1990 census, the year after the pilot takes place, was 5,120.1, not 51,201.
Mm-hmm.
Once a dingy little trading post, Twin Peaks was brought to prominence by James Packard, who settled in the area along with his wife Unguin in 1890 and built the Packard Mill, a main location in the show featured prominently in the opening credits. The Packard Mill competed with another mill in the area run by Rudolph Martel, a businessman from St. Louis who was haunted by bad luck that would haunt his entire lineage after he died. A third prominent dynasty was formed by wealthy mercantilist Orville Horn, who settled near Black Lake and established the Horn General Store. As the Horn family prospered, Orville's son, Ben, built the Great Northern Hotel in 1927, another main location in the TV show. Eventually, the Martells lost out to the Packards, leaving Packard Mill as the centerpiece of industrialism in Twin Peaks. But their descendants still live and work in the area during the time period of the pilot. Other points of interest in Twin Peaks include Big Ed's Gas Farm, the Double R Diner, home of the best damn pie you'll ever get your hands on, the Twin Peaks Sheriff Station, and the Owl Cave, a Neolithic site once used by the Flathead tribe, a site believed to have been touched by, quote, the beyond, end quote.
Great. Love it.
That's just a little bit of local set dressing. It's time. Let's get into the pilot. Twin Peaks, mystery horror serial drama, television series created by Mark Frost and David Lynch, directed by David Lynch, premiered on ABC on April 8th, 1990, and started off as a huge hit, and then it was canceled at the end of its second season. So this thing was like a cultural phenomenon and then bombed in season 2. It's crazy.
That's much like my breakout show Popular. We had only 2 seasons, won the Teen Choice Out breakout show for season 2 and then was canceled. So
I wonder if Twin Peaks won the Teen Choice Awards.
It could have been. I'm going to have to look into that, but I'm really relating to this canceled too early thing.
Well, it's crazy because a lot of what they say happened was the central mystery, which kicks off the pilot, who killed Laura Palmer. The network really pushed Frost and Lynch and basically came down hard to say in season 2, they were like, you got to wrap this up. Because TV, long form television like this did not exist at the time.
Right.
Premium cable shows were really not a thing. You basically had ABC, CBS, NBC. Fox was just starting out. The Simpsons was on there, Married with Children. But most of the nighttime shows were real soap operas like Dynasty and, and like
Crest.
All that stuff. And Hill Street Blues, which Mark Frost wrote on, which my dad watched. I remember growing up in the 80s. So there were like these there were like the procedurals, but there wasn't, it's really hard to imagine now, but these long format, high weird dramas did not exist on TV until Twin Peaks. And it was this thing where basically what Mark Frost and David Lynch did was they brought filmmaking to television for the first time, really for the first time. They treated it like a movie. They shot it like a movie. it really is, the pilot could stand along any of David Lynch's movies, I think, and David Lynch even said, this is a quote from him, "I see it as a film. Instead of going on a truck to a theater, it goes on a truck to a TV." Which is such a, fun quote.
Right.
Like the idea of loading film on a truck and sending it somewhere.
Into a television. It's great. I love that.
But it basically invented event television. And the thing that the network got wrong, and first of all, ABC, like Bob Iger was the head of ABC at the time. Bob Iger, who would go on to buy Marvel, be the CEO of Disney and buy Marvel and buy Lucasfilm and bring all of that stuff into Disney. They pitched a show, and Iger liked it and loved the finished product. He had a fight tooth and nail to get this thing on the air. And the network, because the network was like, people aren't going to get this. Critics are going to hate it. This is too weird for us. And one of the things they did is they pushed Frost and Lynch to wrap up the Laura Palmer mystery about 8 episodes into season 2, which what they wanted to do was have that be a mystery that lasted in the background for the entire series, right. And they sort of had it as their master arc. And of course, what happened was they caved, they wrapped it up. David Lynch basically quit the show after that. And then the ratings dropped because people were like, okay, I'm done. And that central mystery just ended too soon.
Yeah. It's like in Moonlighting when Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd finally hooked up, the show was over at that point.
Yes.
They can't do that.
Yeah. Now I will say that
okay,
that
I just
does
totally aged myself there.
No, that's fine. It's totally fine. I mean, I think people know. I talked about Hill Street Blues 5 minutes ago.
Right. People are like, Bruce Willis had a TV show? What is this guy talking about?
We're not kidding. We're not kidding about it. We're not kidding anybody how old we are. Don't worry, everyone. That's why we have Riley. He's cool and hip and
I don't know what shows they're talking about.
Amazing.
But so basically, that's exactly what happened. But I will say that for me, I don't think solving that mystery ruins the canon, ruins the mythology. I think it only actually makes it richer in the long run. Cool. And they come back to the Laura Palmer mystery as a central theme in Fire Walk with Me and in Twin Peaks: The Return. So
great.
Don't let that discourage you from watching the series. That's all I'm saying. Riley, so you were, speaking of young, you were a baby when this came out? Were you alive when Twin Peaks aired in 1989, 90, 91?
Yeah, I was a little one.
Yeah. Do you have any memory of the show being on TV, being a thing?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay. Definitely do. And it was wild. But when did you find it?
I was introduced to the show by I watched it while I was recovering from surgery, so I was all on painkillers, which also made it really great. So I was just I watched it all in kind of like 1 week, and this was in my late 20s, I would say.
Okay.
So I came to this. Yeah. Okay, I'm not that young. I came to it pretty much later. I sort of was aware of its existence, and I was getting into David Lynch at the time and watching his movies, and so this was the obvious next step. So I watched it in one painkiller fueled weekend. Week or so.
Honestly, the perfect way to see this.
Yeah,
it
that
really
sounds very
was
Lynchian on its own.
Exactly, the pillowy sort of music, and I'm just like floating in a bed, and it was great. I was just like immediately hooked, and then ever since then, there's certain people in my life that have like never seen Twin Peaks. I'm like, all right, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch the whole thing. So I think I've seen it like 3 times now.
Oh wow,
yeah. I watched the pilot twice this month. I watched it on February 24th, which was the quote unquote 32nd anniversary of Laura Palmer's death, because she dies on February 24th, 1989 in the pilot. That's when they find her body. And so I just watched it this week again. So I think this is the 5th time I've seen the pilot now. And yeah, but I love it. I find new shit every time. And the thing that's amazing that, you know, maybe Bryce, once you've watched it all, if you go back and revisit the pilot, there's all these things that seem to be sort of offhanded moments that become sort of recurring themes in the entire series, all the way up until the 2017 series, where you're like, oh, wow, it's in the pilot. The DNA's in the pilot, and I didn't even pick up on it, you know? So there's fun stuff like that.
Yeah, watching it again for the second time, I mean, I feel like there was a lot of stuff I missed the first time around, so.
What jumped out at you during this watch in particular?
Well, in particular, okay, we're getting into spoiler alert territory, but that there was like some illicit connection between like Ronette and Laura Palmer's character and the sex trade and perhaps I forgot about the letter that they found under her finger, that there was a serial killer / perhaps rapist on the loose, that there was some illicit sex ring circle happening in this town. So
yes, and we find out that Agent Cooper, played by Kyle MacLachlan, who comes in almost, I think, 35 minutes into the pilot. It's a late debut for a lead character. That just shows you how much time they set up the town, and you meet all the town characters before they bring in an outsider, which I think is really smart. You know what I mean? I think if you brought him in right away, which I feel like a lot of TV shows would bring him in right after the cold open.
It did feel like a little dinner theater style. Like, this is this character, and then now we're on another set, and here comes Grandma and Grandpa, and we're going to get to know them. And
because you meet the Palmers, Laura's parents, you meet the sheriff, you meet Lucy and Sheriff Harry S. Truman, which is such a great name. I love that name for a character. You meet Donna's father, Dr. Hayward. You meet Donna, you meet James, you meet Bobby, you meet Shelley. Like you meet Nora at the Double R Diner and Shelley. Right. You get this whole tour of the town, which is like really pretty fast. The Martells, and Josie Packard, who are the remnants of the Packard Mill dynasties. Now those two families are married to each other, which is fascinating if you know the backstory of that, sort of like this Romeo and Juliet backstory of the two warring families. And it does this great thing of like show you how Laura had an impact on everybody in town. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Which does two brilliant things. One, it shows that she was super popular and that everybody loved her. Everyone seemed to have an emotional connection to her. So many people are crying, including the principal when he's making the announcement about Laura, which is a great scene. And it's great because on one hand, you're like, oh my God, everyone knew who Laura Palmer was. Everyone thought she was an angel. But that also means that anyone in town could have been is a suspect because they all have an emotional connection to Laura. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a brilliant little way of explaining who this dead girl was and that she literally impacted everybody in town. So anyone might have a motive to kill her. Or it might be a serial killer. As Agent Cooper points out, he talks about that there was a girl, Teresa Palmer, on a case that he was working on that we find out more about later. And that's all I'll say.
Right.
Let's talk about the opening credit sequence, which I can never skip through. I have to watch every single time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I mean, that theme is like so iconic, and I want to hear it through every time. And I've always thought it's funny too. Like the music in this is actually quite optimistic and
interesting.
Kind of bright.
Oh, interesting. Talk about that.
Like the lift, the like in like the Laura Palmer theme lift.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like it goes like unexpectedly major there, and it's really it has a lot of hope in it, which I think is interesting. But then tonally, it's like this sort of like very dark, moody thing, and then the way it kind of like it makes a hardcore corner and it turns back down into this like minor sort of sad bit, and it's just like, I mean, it's just a beautiful piece of music. I love it so much. And there's the story of Angelo Badalamenti was like with David Lynch, and he was just sitting at the piano playing it, and then David was just like, that's it, don't change a note, like, and then he went and fleshed it out from there. But it's like David would just sit with him, and he would sort of talk and tell him about, all right, Laura Palmer in this town and whatever, and then Angelo would just play what he was being described, and that's how they came up with the music. And
much like how you used to do our High Strangeness episodes at the Clubhouse.
That was the whole idea.
That's great, Riley. Don't change a thing. Don't change a note.
You've got it, old boy.
I've also been paying particular attention to. Oh, I also, on that note, no pun intended. I think it's safe to say that this is the only TV show that I own a vinyl record for the music, and I play on a regular basis.
That's awesome. Cool. I mean, yeah, there's so many good that's themes and like cues in this, where it's like recurring themes throughout the show that's one of the things I really love about the way this score works, is that the music is kind of like a character.
Yeah, it is. It's a real storytelling device, and we'll see that play out. In particular, I would say, as a hint, as a clue, pay attention to the theme where we first meet Audrey Horne, the doom 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 jazzy, that jazzy thing. There's a really clever thing they do with that piece of music throughout the series, and there's a deeper meaning, I think, now watching it through a second time, between particularly that piece of music and what's going on with Audrey in the show, which we can't really get into in the pilot, but I want our listeners to pay attention to that.
Is she a dope smoker like those jazz musicians?
Yeah, she's smoking jazz cigarettes. I just see, it's interesting where that comes every time that song is played. There's a big scene that comes up later where it's played again, and you're like, okay, this song in particular might actually have a deeper meaning in this world, let alone just to us watching the show at home. But then
back to the intro though, because I took it off on a music tangent, but also the visuals of the intro are so compelling, and the way it's like, it's showing these blades being sharpened. That's a lot of the intro is that, and so it's like it's hinting at this violence and this sort of this mechanical violence, this like this powerful, frightening machine, but it's not. Like actually, I mean, in a way, it is like a violence against the environment. But I think so.
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely,
it's a multi-layered thing that he's doing, or they're doing, the group of people that made it. And it's, I think it's really effective, and it plays into the tone of this show, where there's this sort of like underlying menace, sort of the whole time, but it's never really super overt. And I think that that's just like such a perfect image, along with the music that's going to set that mood immediately.
Well, I think you're totally right. And I've really been like, this past watch, I clued in on the opening shots. And the first thing you get is a bird, which is a varied thrush, and it's a common bird in the Pacific Northwest. So you see this like really beautiful little bird, and then it's literally crossfaded with these two giant industrial smokestacks that literally overlay the bird and then replace the shot of the bird. So right away, you're like, okay, man has trespassed on this forest, and it has started to pollute this area, right? And then you get that violent machines, and you get this like really masculine presence, especially with those two like giant smokestacks. It's a phallic symbol. And then what happens is, once you get past the machines, it starts cutting to the waters and the waterfall, which I think is this really feminine symbol. You know what I mean? So you have a bird, which I think is like sort of also alluding to the birds and the bees. You have these phallic symbols. You have this like destruction of nature, the destruction of land. And then it cuts to like these raging waters, this sort of feminine symbolism. So you have like sex in there right away too, you know, and this idea of also forceful sex as well. If you want to look at chopping down trees and the destruction of nature as that, you know, as an assault, which ties into this murder that's happened, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn.
And
all,
I mean,
all that from the fucking title sequence, man.
Yeah. Well, but that,
Yo,
I mean,
you got that from some logs and saws, man. I don't know.
But I
Violent,
think that's
assaulting
why,
sex. I love it.
well, but I think that's why this is what happens when you get a filmmaker making TV. Like it really, you can really be a film nerd about it and talk about what story the opening credits itself is telling.
Yep. Yep.
I know it's such a nerdy thing to talk about, but that brings us to Laura's body, which is maybe one of the most iconic images, I think, in television history. Her cold, dead body wrapped in plastic with like pebbles stuck to her face that almost look like glitter or sequins. It's a great image. It's super dark, but it's also beautiful at the same time. And like she is sort of wrapped up in plastic and looks like a bride as opposed to a corpse. Wouldn't you guys think? There's something there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. It did seem like very sort of angelic in a sense for a dead person.
Yeah, it's they choose, as gruesome as the moment is, the corpse is not, we don't see the mutilation of the corpse, or however it might be. You know what I mean? It's really like this little, in a dark way, she's like wrapped up like a bride or like a gift. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
That's again the violence. The violence is sort of implied. It's not shown.
Yeah.
You really only see her face, and
throughout the whole thing, you're sort of protected in a way, and it's really left to the imagination. It's also one of those things where like they cut to the I'm thinking of this now, how they keep cutting to the image of her as like the homecoming queen or the prom queen.
That portrait, the one portrait.
Yeah, wearing the tiara, and the sequence in the tiara, it's almost as if those jewels are implanted in her cheeks when you see her body. You know what I mean? So I think those are two mirror images: the image of her as the prom queen, and then the homecoming queen, and then the image of her as the corpse. They're like two sides of the same coin.
That's interesting. I just think of how many dive bars across this country I've seen that portrait of Laura Palmer hanging up on a wall somewhere.
Oh, really? Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah. All the time. It's a great little nod. You're like, okay, cool. All right, good. I like this place.
It would look really good on your mantle, just casually sitting on your mantle at home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Anything else in the moment of finding her body? I do love that, like the reaction from Harry Truman and then Dewey crying. Like everyone is like, you get the sense of how important this girl was, and that everybody knew her in just that little physical moment when they overturn her body.
Yeah. Well, and also that it's like a quiet kind of peaceful town, and like Sheriff Truman, he's like, is this going to happen every time? Because it's like, this is the second body that, what's the deputy's name?
Andy. I think it's Andy, right?
Andy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Dewey is Scream. Sorry. Everyone's screaming at me.
That's why you said Dewey. I was like, I don't remember it being Dewey.
Yeah, no,
Andy. The second body Andy's seen, and he's crying. It's just like, there's an innocence and a peacefulness to the town that has now been disturbed by. Later,
the girl who works at the police station, she says a line too. It might be because Andy is over caffeinated. of why he's crying all the time. So she was like, and maybe give Andy some decaf. He's been very emotional lately, or something like that. So.
She's consistently
Lucy.
such a good
yeah, she's great. Yeah, Lucy,
series.
that was it. So
yeah,
I think you bring up a good point, because I think one of the themes is that Twin Peaks seems to be this town that isn't infringed upon by current time. You know what I mean? It seems to be surviving on its own. Hence Cooper's fascination when he goes there. He's like, what is this place? You know what I mean? And it does have a timeless feel to it. It does feel like this show could take place in the 1950s just as easily as it is the 1990s.
Yeah. And I think there are towns like that when you drive through the Pacific Northwest specifically, but other places too, where it feels like there's even places in the Valley in LA where it feels like that, where it's kind of like time stopped and just sort of they just exist in these sort of like liminal, timeless spaces, you know. And but especially like a kind of cut off mountain town like that, yeah, just it's a nice place for a story like this because it's separate and it's timeless and it's just sort of is, you know.
Did anybody notice? I've posted this on my Instagram every year that I watch the pilot, but the dancing guy in the background in the high school scene when they're all there, when Donna is at her locker, and then this guy, Bryce, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I missed. No,
There's
no,
this
I don't know
little
what you're talking about.
I'll send it to you after we record, but there's this brilliant shot. Everyone's talking at their lockers. They close their lockers. They walk off. And this dude in the background, he's just a background actor, shuts his locker and then does this little spin on his heels and then shimmies off doing sort of like the sidewinder with his arms. And it's just this random shot. And it's my favorite moment in the entire pilot.
Oh, that's funny.
I just love picturing that happening on set because David Lynch was just like, let's try that again. You in the back, try a dance this time. You know, just like, and then they just like, there it is. Like, it wasn't a very good Lynch, but you know what I mean.
It was good. It was good. We got it.
I really just pick because I know that he likes to just sort of like find things in the moment just from reading interviews and his books.
Yeah.
I could just see that happening where he's like, it just like they finish that shot. He's like, it feels flat. I don't know. Something's not right. And then just like throw in that little absurdist kind of thing. But also like, wasn't there that kid in everyone's high school? The like kind of weird kid that just dances alone in the hallway. Like it's just like.
Yes, there was. And his name was Michael Charles McMillan.
It almost makes it more real. You know what I mean? In a way, even though it's like completely ridiculous. It's just like these little nods.
Yes. And also.
Have to go back and find that guy.
Oh my God. It's so funny. And also that just like there's an undercurrent to this town that's a little strange, that's a little off. There's some energy around here that's making everyone a little quirkier or a little more heightened. This does, I have described the show as like, maybe even to you, Bryce, on the podcast, but it does feel like, I think even one of the early reviews said that this is like a TV show from another world. And I do feel like sometimes watching the show that we're watching a primetime television soap opera from a parallel dimension.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's like someone like went into another time stream and pulled this over and they're like, look how things are just slightly weirder in this universe. And it's still recognizable, but something is weird. It's very dreamlike in that sense.
Yeah, no,
totally.
It's soapy for sure. But I'm kind of digging that now. I'm in a vibe to like, I like the vibe they've set, so, you know, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, somebody wrote in, a listener, Dave, wrote into our Patreon and said that he said, I've just started rewatching Twin Peaks. My God, I'd forgotten how horrible the acting was. Some of it would make the Village Amdram, which I don't know what that group, cringe. I don't know what that's a reference to, but I don't know. Do you think the acting is bad in this show?
Yeah,
it's soapy for sure.
Yeah, there's some moments that are overblown, like especially from Bobby. Like all the characters go big. They're not afraid to like. Well, keeping it really small is like a modern sort of thing in film and television. You know, maybe back then things could get a little big. Like when I'm upset, I open my mouth really big and do this. You know,
yeah.
So there's like a lot of that. You know, but it works.
But it's all I find that it's all consistent with the tone of melodrama that
that's
like
the word
is,
for it.
is
Yeah,
it's
melodramatic. That's the perfect word for
but I don't think it's bad. I actually disagree with Dave. I think, for example, Grace Zabriskie, who plays Laura's mother, is giving a fucking Emmy-worthy performance in this. Just all the like Greek drama she has to do with like screaming and crying, you know, the scene where
why am I blanking on her name?
Grace Zabriskie.
Yeah, no, the actress.
Yeah, Grace Zabriskie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that was Laura Palmer's mom?
Yeah, she's in Big Love. She played Bill Pullman's mom in Big Love.
Who am I thinking of? Who is the anyway, it doesn't matter. What the hell? I'm looking on the IMDb page. Who was the girl she was in? I can't find it. Grace. Oh yeah, you're right. Sarah Palmer.
Yeah, Sarah Palmer's played, and she's fucking awesome in this. Like the scene where she calls Laura's dad at the hotel, and then the sheriff shows up, and she's piecing everything together over the phone, and then drops the phone and screams. Also, an incredible like housewife smoker playing the desperate, sad smoking housewife. She's incredible. She makes an art of that gesture.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I thought that was someone else. But yeah, she's fantastic.
She's great. And I think Kyle MacLachlan is incredible in this show. Comes in.
Defines his whole career, like the character that I think this is how I see him, is one of those roles. You know?
And he does this confusing thing where he's a very handsome leading man, but a total weirdo at the same time. But he walks the fine line that he never, ever loses his charm or sex appeal playing this part. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And part of it is he just looks so damn good in a suit. He does. But he comes in fully baked as a character. And I mean, it's incredible. He's so good in the show. And watching the show, I was like, why isn't Kyle MacLachlan a bigger fucking star than he is? He's great.
He's a pretty big star. I mean, I guess to those that care. But yeah, I guess he's not like a Tom Cruise or something. But
yeah, you know, I think it may be because he was a little weird. But like, I don't know. He's just, I mean, he's in a ton of shit and he's great. But like, I don't know. He should just be a bigger star as far as I'm concerned. You see like you see in Twin Peaks, like the mayor that he plays in Portlandia. You know what I mean? You're like, exactly, oh yeah. You can see it already there early. And he's like 33, 34 when he's shooting this pilot. Like he's so good. Bryce, did we lose you down a Google rabbit hole? Where are you?
No. I did Google rabbit hole. I was thinking that Palmer's mom was Ellen Burstyn, but
oh yes, that's an acceptable mistake to make.
Yeah, but Grace Zabriskie, she was fantastic. But yeah, Kyle MacLachlan, how do you say
MacLachlan?
MacLachlan, yes, was wonderful. Yes, agreed.
Yeah, very good. The scene in the autopsy when he finds the letter under, first of all, that shot of the tweezers going into the fingernail and lingering a little bit longer and going a little deeper than you're expecting to is really hard for me to watch still after watching it 5 times. I always pull my eyes away from that moment. Such a good little gross moment. But the electricity in the autopsy scene that's flickering, that was an accident on set. They couldn't get the fluorescent light to stop.
Really?
Flickering.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And David Lynch was like, keep it. And that becomes a motif. This flickering electricity becomes a motif in the show. And it was one of those things where I went back after watching, I was like, oh my God, it's right here in the autopsy scene. And it was so cool to learn that was an accident. There's another accident that happens in that scene where he asks the mortician to leave he and Sheriff Truman alone. And Kyle MacLachlan's line is like, could you leave us alone, please? And the actor didn't hear what he said for some reason. And he thought Kyle MacLachlan was asking what his name was. And so he responds with Jim. He says, Jim, my name basically is Jim. And then everyone does this sort of like hiccup of like, what the fuck? And then Kyle MacLachlan just says, could you please leave us alone? And the guy goes, oh, sure. And walks out. And I guess that was a mistake that he kept as well. Kept it in the final cut.
Perfect. That's like classic David Lynch there, where he's like, this is the correct way the scene's supposed to have gone.
Yeah, this keeping those weird little accidents. It's such a great reminder that, like, you know, when you're filming something, spontaneity, even as an accident, can be really good, you know?
Definitely.
I also love Cooper's delivery of Diane. I'm holding in my hands a small box of chocolate bunnies, and that's like the best cut to a commercial break that I think I've ever seen.
Do you guys know? Do we ever find out who Diane is? Do we have any idea?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to. What do you think? I want to know what you think.
I don't know, like a personal secretary that transcribes his, but then he's transcribing everything. So what secretary would do that? So I don't know. I have questions about this Diane character.
I will say this. There's a theory that comes along early in season 1 that Diane is the tape recorder.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So there's that. But I think we'll just leave it at that for now.
I always just pictured when I was watching it the first time that Diane is someone who works at the bureau.
Yes, that's
like back.
Yes,
like he's like getting the field notes of his investigation.
Yes, it's my assumption that he's taking all these notes and then mailing the cassettes back to headquarters, and then she's copying down exactly all the field notes, like Riley said. I love the scene where Audrey interrupts the Norwegians. And the Norwegian says, "Is there something wrong, sad pretty girl?"
So good. Yeah.
Audrey
she's just stirring the pot right from the jump. Yes. I love that character.
I do too. Good. I really do.
Like, sort of sultry, bad, but very at her core, very innocent and sweet, but she like acts out as this kind of like bad girl. Like, just, I don't know. She's just so great. And like the performance is amazing. And it's, perfect sad pretty girl.
Who do you like? Who do you have more of a crush on at this point, Bryce? Audrey or Shelley?
Oh my God! Let's see.
Shelley's Machik. What's that? Machin Amick, who's the waitress.
Works at the diner.
Yeah, I'd have to go her. She's pretty hot.
I see you going more that way.
Yeah, but I'm drawn to that Laura Palmer for some reason. I like.
Okay,
her.
How about this?
Is that creepy that I've only seen as a dead person in the pilot? I'm like, I really like that dead chick.
No, but I think
hot.
I would not be surprised if like that launched a few weird fetishes for people in the 90s. You know what I mean? I think it's intentionally like pretty and creepy at the same time. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was thinking about, was like how they dress her up as this sort of like pretty bride or this pretty corpse instead of like this, mutilated horror or something, Fuck, marry, kill. Laura Palmer, Audrey Horne, or Shelley.
Well, I mean, just to acknowledge that we're three middle-aged men talking about characters who are supposed to be high school.
Acknowledged, but also they're played by actresses well into their late 20s, I feel like. So
that's true.
Red flag.
So by LA standards, we are in the clear.
No, also, I was 11 when this show came out. So, they're much older than us in real life.
Right.
FMK.
Right. Someone else go first. I don't want to.
Okay, I'm gonna F the waitress. I'm gonna marry the other one and kill Laura Palmer because she's already dead.
I think I'm with you. I think I would. I think that marry Audrey, F Shelley, kill Laura Palmer.
Great.
Yeah, that's a unanimous consensus.
All right, well, let's make it equal here. Agent Cooper, James Hurley, the motorcycle guy, or Sheriff Truman.
Oh well, you definitely F James the motocycle boy.
Yeah.
You marry Agent Cooper, obviously.
Yeah.
And sorry, Truman. It's a tough break.
Yeah, get rid of him. I would agree with Riley. That all makes sense. That all vibes with me.
I might actually F Sheriff Truman just because I do think he's a nice guy. Like kill James and definitely marry Agent Cooper.
Man. Oh, pity fuck me. No, but you're a nice guy.
If he's good enough for Josie Packard, he's good enough for me.
That's a good point.
Boy.
All right, we're getting close to the end here, clearly, but there's a couple other shots that I want to talk about, and I missed it this time in the pilot. I think it's in the pilot. But there's a character played by Frank Silva, who's the long-haired guy you get a couple flashes of in the pilot.
Right.
And he was a crew member on set, and he got into the series because they were moving furniture, shooting something in Laura's bedroom. And one of the guys was like, "Careful, Frank, you're gonna get yourself trapped behind the dresser because he was like moving furniture around. He kind of painted himself into the corner with the furniture." And David Lynch liked this idea of a man being trapped by furniture, so he took these shots of Frank Silva bent down at the foot of Laura Palmer's bed, looking through the rungs of the bed.
That's wild.
And then
that's funny.
That shot becomes a vision that Sarah Palmer sees that frightens her. Right. And then later she's like, who's upstairs? Who's upstairs? And they're like, it's just the FBI man. And she's like, oh, I could tell it wasn't her. But it gives a sense of foreboding that there's another presence in the house. And then there's another shot at the very end, which I didn't notice until I watched it last month, where Sarah Palmer wakes up on the couch, scared of something, and you can see a reflection in the mirror over her shoulder of Frank Silva, the same crew member. There's a reflection of him in the mirror that's in 2 quick shots. So it's one of those things that your subconscious catches on to and makes it really eerie, but like you don't necessarily notice the first time. Bryce, did you notice that?
No, I didn't. No.
And that was another mistake that David Lynch was like, keep it. Let's keep it in there. And so this storyline that will emerge from those accidents is really fun to see play out. And it basically wasn't in the script originally.
That's cool.
It's like, have you guys read David Lynch's? It's like this little book on creativity. It's a very small, like little book, but like he talks a lot about like this, like allowing your subconscious to engage sort of with your conscious plan. And I think that's like, that's like all these examples of this are exactly what he's doing here. He's letting the story develop from a subconscious angle as well, and like creating these characters. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm trying to say something without saying something, but yes, it's like, but it's just, this is very like classically his, as he describes at least, his creative approach. And I think it's so cool, and it's such a useful framework for creativity, for writing or filmmaking or music making or whatever. It's just like allowing these, they're not necessarily mistakes, they're like subconscious tangents. It's like this other part of the work that's sort of making itself known, and you have to put yourself in a headspace to recognize that when it happens.
And getting your attention, right? Like, hey, look at me. I'm not where I'm supposed to be, Right.
Yeah.
You can't.
So, I think that's part of what makes this show so interesting. Is that he allowed these moments to happen and be in the final work.
I agree. All right, Bryce. First, I want your final thoughts on the pilot, and then I want to know who you think killed Laura Palmer.
Well, I love the pilot. Like I said, there's not a lot of like weird sort of esoteric or occult stuff, right in your face at the start, but I know it's coming, so I've got my seatbelt ready. That being said, dude, I dug it, man. It kept my attention all the way through, so I'm in it to win it, man.
Great, I love it. So, who do you think killed Laura Palmer? If you had a guess based on the pilot, who's your big suspect?
I wouldn't render a guess based on the pilot. I think, you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. I don't have anybody. When I finished watching it, I wasn't like, I know who did it. I was kind of sort of left with going, I don't think it's any of these people. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's a guess.
Maybe the guy, who's the guy in the diesel truck?
Leo.
The waitress's dad.
Shelley's husband. No, Shelley's husband, Leo.
Shelley's husband, Leo. Yes, he's a little suspect.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So those are both guesses that are very fair and good guesses.
Great.
It could be right, by the way. You might be right.
Interesting.
We're not going to say until we get there. We should probably have, we'll do these in chunks, probably over on the other side, like do it in groups. But we should probably, like, for some of there's coming down the line, there are going to be some like real event episodes that maybe we'll just hold special, to talk about in one episode,
Cool.
So I'll try to like navigate that as we go. And I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. This is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. Like Bryce said, not a lot of the occult in this first episode. We're just setting the stage for the mystery to come, but like, we're going to get there. Episodes 1 and 2 really start to take us there and really start to make you go, oh, this is what Michael's saying by like John Keel and Indrid Cold and all this stuff. So stay with us and join us on the other side. We're not going to put these out on a regular schedule. We're going to kind of do this as we can. Obviously, we've got a good momentum going. Bryce, if you want to stay on it, we can stay on it. I'm already halfway through season 2 again. So I'll kind of be scouting down the road as well as we watch.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, Riley, did you have any final thoughts on the pilot?
I mean, I'm just excited to be going back into this world one more time. It's been a few years, and I don't know. Twin Peaks for me is like this comforting, nostalgic. It's like a warm slice of pie.
Yeah,
and a damn fine cup of coffee.
Perfect.
Well, that's appropriate. Yeah.
How many? God, I wanted to eat so many. I really craved donuts while I was watching this as well.
I always make coffee while I'm watching it.
That's a good call. I have a Double R Diner mug that my buddy got me, Dave got me for Christmas. So I appreciate that.
Solid
Drinking
gift.
out of it this morning.
I'm happy to go back into it. It's fun to discuss. It's fun to watch it with friends, and it's fun to watch it with someone who hasn't seen it yet. So it's I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased.
Love it. You know, I'm happy. All right. Any plugs before we say goodnight?
I mean, Spindrift Classic Soundtracks Volume 3, you guys already know that by now, but, you know, give it a stream, order a record. It's the best way to support a band is to actually buy a physical copy of an album. If you want, I don't know, people have been sending me pictures of their copies, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback. So thank you all that have purchased the record and are enjoying it, and check out all the music videos too.
Yeah, and I would say go to our merch shop. Get those new merch, whether it's a t-shirt, hoodie, or a coffee mug, or a sticker. Check out our merch. Some killer stuff over there. Get it for yourself and your loved ones.
I'm definitely getting those new band tees. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. BCC Records. All your favorite fictional bands in one convenient place. You guys know this by now, probably. I've made you listen to Bryce's episode, but check out and please follow Slate Your Name, my other podcast where I talk to actors about the ups and downs of the entertainment industry. That's available wherever you get podcasts and comes out every Tuesday. So you can listen to that on Tuesday and then listen to BCC on Wednesday. All right, everybody. Until next time, good night.
And go get regressed. Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillan and scored and engineered by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. Do us a favor and support the show and unlock 3 bonus episodes every month by becoming a member of our Patreon, BCC The Other Side, which can be found at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.